Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Scotland and we're going to return to a brewery who I only introduced you to for the first time a couple of videos back, but I was really impressed with that beer that I had. It was a very kind of quirky beer, so I thought for this second review we would have a look at something that's a little bit more of a kind of straight shooter, if you like, to balance it out a bit. But this is a brewery that I think we do really need to keep an eye on. Actually, they've been getting a lot of plaudits, and from the last beer I can definitely see why. For this review then, we are going to head through to Edinburgh once again, and we're having a look at my second beer from Vault City Brewing, who are so far the only dedicated sour beer brewery here in Scotland, and they were the first sour beer brewery in Scotland as well, actually. So yeah, this one is the Sour IPA version 1, or SIPA V1, whatever you want to call it, and it comes in at 7.2% ABV. So yeah, apparently it has Simcoe hops in it as well, which is a favourite old hop of mine, but yeah, really curious to see how this one turns out. The last beer that I had from these guys, of course, was the Iron Brew Sour, which is just a really very quirky kind of Scottish thing. So as I say, I think this is a nice review to this is a nice beer to balance out that with, but hopefully it turns out to be just as good as that one. Actually, a lot of people have been telling me this is a brewery that I need to check out, so we'll see how we get on with this one, but high hopes for this beer on the basis of the other one, and as always I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. Let's see how we get on with it. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Vault City before. No doubt I will add some more at some point in the near future, hopefully the next time I'm home. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, province, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, usually when I'm home for a little while. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you again a little bit about Vault City Brewing. So Vault City Brewing, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Edinburgh, and they were founded back in 2018 by Johnny Horn, Adele Wilkie and Stephen Smith-Hay. So Johnny was working at the Hanging Bat, which is it's a really nice bar, brew pub sort of thing. They've got their little brewery through the back, and you'll find that on Lothian Road in Edinburgh. Definitely worth checking out if you find yourself through there. A really nice place to visit. But Stephen and Adele were regular customers, and the three of them just became friends from sitting and chatting away about beer when they were in the bar. So at the time, Johnny was finishing off his degree in archaeology, and he was also a keen home brewer, and Stephen was doing a little bit of home brewing himself as well. But the two began planning a brewery together, and at this point Adele had actually broken her leg or her ankle or something on a skiing trip, and so she was around and they were doing a lot of the planning at her and Stephen's house. So she ended up contributing a lot of ideas to them when they were planning the brewery, and it was eventually decided that she would join the team. So Johnny was a great fan of Belgian lambics and other types of Belgian sour beers, and this really rubbed off on Adele and Stephen, and they felt that there was a gap in the Scottish beer market for this, and they decided that was the route that they were going to pursue with their brewery. Because in Scotland at this point, the only real sour beer brewery apart from these guys would be the Brewdog Overworks, and I think that started actually later than them as well. Before that, there wasn't really any sour beers apart from a few efforts from maybe Tempest. Fierce Beer were doing a few things, and I've noticed now that the likes of Dead End Brew Machine and a few of the Glasgow breweries, Overtone, are having a go at some sour beers as well. So there really just was no sour beer breweries in Scotland, actually. Even 6 Degrees North, the Belgian brewery up in Stonehaven or Lawrencekirk, they hadn't really attempted anything like that either. So definitely a big gap in the market there, and it's quite cool that they've filled it. But initially they weren't thinking so much about about making money out of the brewery. They just wanted to kind of experiment with these different beer styles. So they ended up starting their brewing with a glorified home brewing kit, which was put in Stephen and Adele's kitchen, and they began brewing weekly back in July of 2018. And over the last year, they've basically, or year and a half, they've been going around different beer festivals in Europe. I encountered them at Brewskival in Helsingborg over in Sweden. but I didn't get the chance to try one of their beers because I discovered them late on and they were just shutting down. They'd run out of stuff. But I discovered them over there, and they've been going around just trying to build relationships with the other sour beer breweries and beer fans around Europe actually. But at the moment they're just they're trying to sort out on other premises and expand a little bit. But as of February 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced over 30 different types of beer. But for the moment you will probably only find bottles of their beer in the sort of Edinburgh area. I haven't even seen these through in Glasgow actually. In my nearest kind of decent sized city, Stirling, the beer shop through there doesn't really have anything, but the beer shop is more of a general booze shop rather than a specialist beer shop. But yeah, a really nice brewery this one. They've been getting a hell of a lot of plaudits from other sour beer breweries for what they're doing, and long may that continue. I look forward to seeing how this brewery is going to do. And you know, sour beers, there really is a bit of a boom in this particular area. You would have seen recently my Mykler Baghaven festival visit video, and there was a hell of a lot of good stuff there. I was always wondering why these guys and Wild Wave from Korea weren't there. There's some really good sour beer breweries coming in all across the world these days. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff, and I've always appreciated that because we have Bryggeriet very close to where I live in Lund in Sweden actually. They're from just up the road in Landskrona. But yeah, sour beers, Vault City getting a very good reputation, but let's leave it at that. That's all you really need to know about Vault City Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And of course you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. This I think will be really interesting. Hopefully they're going to do some more in this series as well. I guess that if it's called version 1, they probably are going to try and brew these a little bit more regularly. But there you can see the Vault City artwork on this one. I think my bottle got a little bit rubbed or whatever when it was in my bag, unfortunately, so it's not the best looking bottle for the video, but I'm sure the beer will be absolutely fine. But it says on the side here, Sour IPA version 1, we've brewed a handful of sour IPAs and we think the style has great potential. We want you to join us in realising it. The first of our sour IPA series, we've gone for Simcoe, a firm New England favourite, added biotransformation and standard dry hop charge, enjoy cold and allow to warm. So yeah, should be kind of interesting. So you can see plain gold bottle cap on this one. This is a 375ml bottle, which is really nice, and you know, it is kind of suitable for these sour beers. But a 7.2% sour IPA with Simcoe in it from Vault City in Edinburgh. Let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Really curious to see about this. As I said earlier, the last beer I tried from these guys, the Iron Brew Sour, it was really a very lovely beer, but very, very kind of quirky. So I wanted to try something just a little bit more kind of straight up from it. I think we're going to have to pour this one a little bit carefully just to make sure the head doesn't go crazy. But yeah, there we go. We're getting towards the end now. There we are. Yeah, we can pour the rest of it in. There we go. That looks very nice actually. So yeah, as you can see with this beer, it's poured actually very similarly to a sort of New England IPA. I wonder if this is going to be a little bit sort of farmhousey, a little bit like Alchemist or something, but just with a kind of sour edge to it. But this really does just look very much like a New England hazy IPA. If I shine the light through this one's actually quite a dark, murky, orangey type colour. There's a solid, there was a solid finger, maybe more, of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head on this one. It's faded away, or it is fading away just to be about a half, 2/3 finger at the moment, but it looks really nice. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, but you know, overall it does look really quite nice actually. I like how this beer appears. I didn't expect it to be quite like as New England looking as it has turned out to be. So yeah, that's an interesting point. But in fairness, they do mention on the side there that the Simcoe hop is a sort of New England favourite, if you like. So yeah, but as you can see, if I put my fingers behind the glass, this beer is rather opaque in terms of its appearance. So yeah, let's have a little look at the aroma of this one then and see how we get on. Oh yeah, that's unusual actually. So straight away with this beer, you get some of that kind of hazy IPA type quality to it. You get a smooth little bit of white bready and wheaty notes. I think there might be a little bit of oats in here as well. Either that or it'll have some dextrose or dextrin or whatever in it, just to give you a bit more of that kind of creamy note. It does really have some of those typical New England type notes to it, but at the same time it does have a little bit of that kind of farmhousey type thing. If you think of Alchemist Heady Topper, or I forget the name of the other beer, the one in the black can that they do. It's going to annoy me now, but yeah, it really has that sort of farmhousey type note to it. It's got a little bit of a, the aroma almost reminds me a little bit of wet paper or something like that. It's got a very kind of woody, grassy, wet woody type aroma to it coming out. It's almost a little bit very slightly sort of vinous as well actually. There's almost just a little touch of a kind of spicy woody note coming out of this as well. I think I said that about the Iron Brew sour as well, so it's maybe just the type of barrels or things or whatever they're using to age their beers actually. This one has a similar spiciness actually to the Iron Brew sour, but it actually added a very nice complement to the flavour from what I remember before. In terms of the malty side of things and the hoppy side of things, you do get a little bit of hoppiness out of this. I mean, you can pick up a little teeny bit of earthiness, but mainly the hoppy side of things leans towards the grassy end of the spectrum for me. Simcoe is always usually gives you like passion fruit and things like that, and it's very kind of creamy in a lot of ways as well. It's almost like a kind of creamy passion fruit, whereas if you think about Galaxy, for example, it's a very pungent passion fruit, but it's also got some kind of pineapple-y notes in it as well actually. So the Simcoe is really going to give you a lot of smoothness out of this, and you get a little bit of that, but in terms of the fruitiness, for me, that passion fruit is there, but it's mixing in with this sort of white winey, very slightly vinous quality. This isn't so much of a kind of citric sour for me. It does come across as a little bit more vinous in terms of its aroma. I'm not sure if that's the right pronunciation, but like white wine, as I said. But a very woody smelling sour, a little bit of spice to that. You get the white bready, wheaty kind of notes in there. I think there's a wee touch of oatiness, or I don't know, it's got a little bit of that dextrosy dextrin kind of thing to it, but not milkshakey, as you can sometimes get from beers like that. Good little bit of grassiness coming out of the beer, a little touch of earthiness, I think. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised from the aroma if they're using a little bit of older Belgian hops in here as well, because it does, you get that almost German noble-like quality out of this beer, and it could even be German noble hops like Hallertau Tettnanger or something like that are being used as the bittering thing. But in Belgian beers, sour beers, it's quite common to use very old hops that are just going to give you a little bit of grassiness and a little bit of a smooth earthiness. So I wonder if they've got that in here as well as the Simcoe. And the Simcoe no doubt will be added late into the boil or whatever, or even as a dry hop. Most likely late in the boil, I think, going by the aroma. But it'll be added so that it contributes flavour and aroma rather than giving you bitterness, I would think. And the other hops, the older hops or the noble hops or whatever's been used, they'll be added earlier in the boil to give you a little bit more, to give you a little touch of bitterness and things. But I'm really curious to see how this one turns out. The aroma of this is very interesting. A nice woody, white winey sort of background to it, a little bit of grassiness, and also some kind of fruity notes as well, a little bit of passion fruit, maybe a little touch of like mango, papaya, apricot, lighter tropical notes as well. So yeah, let's just see how we get on with this one then. So this one is the Sour IPA version 1 from Vault City Brewing, Scotland's first specialist sour beer brewery from Edinburgh here in Scotland. Well, Scotland's brewery, but yeah, let's have a taste of this. 7.2% ABV. Slàinte, skål. That's really nice. Yeah, that, I can see why they were wanting to have an experiment with things like that. That's another very, very solid beer from them. Gets my vote. Keep producing these, play around with different hops and things. I think they're onto something pretty solid here. So first impression of it is, it's just got a little bit of sourness in the beginning, and it starts to kind of push its way out again at the end. It's not a really puckering sourness, this. It's just a nice smooth sort of sour quality, to be honest with you, but it works very, very well, and I can see why that builds in with the a sort of more New England hazy type IPA. I'm not sure it would work so well with like a West Coast type IPA, but that might well be an experiment for them to try later. A sour black IPA could be very interesting as well if you use things like Williamette, or you know, maybe Simcoe can go into black IPAs very well as well. I mean, that would be an interesting one. Use the Simcoe and try and make like a sour black IPA. That's maybe another project for them. But as it stands, the more New England type sour IPA, I think this is a really interesting beer. So if you get the chance to try this one, then definitely have a go at it. Don't know what my mum's doing, banging away. But yeah, I really like this. Let's try and break down the flavour a little bit then. So straight away, in the middle of your palate, you can feel a little bit of that kind of woodiness, just, you know, it just kind of blankets the middle of your tongue. That really forms the kind of linchpin of the beer, if you like. That's the backbone of it. The further you go into the aftertaste, you can really feel it kind of drying out and things, and you start to get more of that. As you come further forward, you'll detect the kind of sour qualities and that sort of white winey vinous type thing coming out of the beer. You can feel on top of the woodiness, you get a little bit of that white bready kind of wheaty sort of thing. That comes out a bit more towards the back of the palate, but as you move further forward, you start to get a little bit, there is a wee bit of a kind of almost oaty flavour in there. I don't know if it's maybe more oatmeal than oaty, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's quite, it works really well actually. This isn't, if you compare this to New England IPAs, obviously it isn't quite as smooth and as creamy as you might get, but if it was, it wouldn't work in the same way. The woodiness, you need it to be a bit lighter in its malt base to let the kind of woody and sour aspects of this beer come out. This is really quite nice. Yeah, have a go at this beer for yourself and see what you think, but I could see this being a style that would really take off actually. It would be interesting just to, you know, it really would be interesting just to see this with different hops and things like that. You know, maybe Nelson Sauvin Enigma would be a really interesting one. You know, the Styrian Wolf from Slovenia that gives you the melon hops and things, the melon flavours rather. That would be a really interesting one to play with. Hallertau Blanc from Germany could be interesting too. An Amarillo sour beer would be awesome. I mean, there's lots of good hops out of there these days, and to have this, the base of this beer really suits it quite well. I'm noticing as well that the further you go into the aftertaste, you do start to get a little bit of a, it's not quite biscuity, but it's almost a little bit, how do you say, like butterscotchy or something. I don't know if you can describe that as like diacetyl. There is a little bit of sweetness builds out of the woody quality that this beer has, and it's not vanilla, it is a little bit more kind of butterscotchy and things. And I did notice that actually with the Iron Brew Sour as well. You can definitely notice similarities in the malt base between that one and this one, and I think, you know, they've obviously got a very unique base for their beers, but to me, I like it, and I think that really works for them. That could be their sort of signature, this woody, you know, that really smooth woodiness and the little butterscotchy type flavour that just builds on top of that. I really like how that works out. And you know, sour breweries, they're always going to have a little bit of their own niche. You notice the thing. I always notice it with Breakeriet as well, and their beers are always very kind of crisp and sour, which is nice. But yeah, let's focus more on this beer then. So the hoppy side of things. If you go to the back corners of the palate, you might get a very light earthiness out of this one, but it's very smooth and light, almost like a German noble hop, as I say, and that very light earthiness spreads further forward along the sides of the palate. You get a little tiny touch of floral note in the front corners of your tongue, and round the very front curve of the palate, it's just that little bit lighter and grassy, of course. And behind the front curve of the tongue, that's where you get that nice oily character, where the fruity, juicy esters push their way out of the beer. So this is quite interesting because the sour qualities also come out on that sort of front part of your palate too, and it's really interesting how the vinous qualities and the fruitiness from the hops start to interplay with each other as well. So yeah, what you'll notice then, we'll do these two things together. When you take this beer in, you do get a little bit of that sour quality. It comes in just behind the front curve of the tongue, and it almost separates the woody flavours from the fruity part of the beer, and it lingers there into the aftertaste as well. And I find that it gets just a little bit sharper the further you go into the aftertaste, but really not so citricy and sharp and lemony. It is more of a... It really is a little bit more of a kind of... just like white wine, Venice type quality. It really is a little bit more like that actually, and you do almost get a little bit of a slightly herbal quality. There is that little bit of spiciness that the wood brings out as well, and that sort of complements the white winey side of things. Interestingly as well, it almost, I think I was talking about in the last one that I did from these guys, Groot, which is it's a herb that is used by a number of Belgian breweries to replace hops. It's maybe got a little, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little touch of that in this beer, because there is just a sort of herbal vibe about this whole beer. But on the fruity side of things, you definitely get a little bit of that almost kind of creamy, passion fruity note from the Simcoe. But there's a few other sort of complexities in there as well, like a little bit of papaya, you know, maybe a little bit of an apricot-y note as well, and you really feel that lingering into the aftertaste the further into it you go. But yeah, on the fruity side of things, when you take it in, really white winey, really vinous-y, and then it kind of smooths out, and then you start to get a bit of the passion fruit and the papayas and apricots and stuff that I was talking about. This is a really, really nice beer actually. I think it would be really cool to see what the other versions of this one turn out like. I'll need to see what the next one is. I mean, using different hops is a very interesting experiment. I mentioned a few in there earlier as well, which would be very good. But I mean, overall, this is a very interesting beer, and the flavour of it really works as well. So hopefully I can try more in this series at some point too. They do have a few other series. I think it was the Crumble series or something like that they were releasing as well. So to try a few more of the kind of big, sharp, fruity sours will probably be the next step for this brewery as well. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say... I mean, this is it's a mid-bodied beer. It's probably at the bottom end of mid-bodied actually. But carbonation is very smooth in this one. To me, this beer comes across with a very sort of wet and clean mouthfeel actually. Not the most puckering, pardon me, it's not the sourest of sours that you're going to come across right enough, but they've just got the sourness just kind of complements all the other flavours that are going on in my mind. The malt base strikes me as being very, very smooth. It gets a teeny bit of a spicy note to it, but it's not a kind of drying spice, if that makes sense. It's just like it's almost like a seasoning almost, if you like. But that's really what forms the linchpin of the beer. It gets a little bit sweeter with that kind of butterscotchy element I was talking about. That comes out further into the aftertaste. I'd be very surprised if you've got much in the way of IBUs with this. You'd be lucky, I think, to get 10 IBUs out of this beer, and the fruitiness works very nicely as well. The sort of white winey characters from the sour yeast, or the wild yeast, whatever you want to call it, and also some of the smoother tropically fruits from the Simcoe as well. A really, really nice beer this, and once again a big thumbs up to Vault City for this one. I really need to try some more of the bigger kind of classic sours, if you like. You know, I think they've got a creek, and you know, they've got a few of the blueberry sours and stuff like this. I think that's the next step for this brewery, is to try something that's almost like a kind of replica, if you like, of some of the Belgian beers. That's probably where I want to go with these guys next. But I will definitely keep an eye for some more of their sour IPAs, and I hope that I can return to this brewery at some point soon. Maybe I'll see them at Brewski Val later on in the year again. But yeah, another awesome beer from Vault City Brewing, and this just kind of reinforces why people are saying that this is a brewery that you really, really need to watch. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This is the Sour IPA version 1, coming in at 7.2% ABV from Vault City Brewing through in Edinburgh, Scotland's first specialist sour beer brewery, and they are, on the basis of the 2 beers I've tried so far, they are doing some pretty awesome stuff. So hopefully it's not too long before I review another beer from them. So yeah, let's leave it at that, like I said. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are. from Vault City Brewing. We will definitely return to this brewery the next time I'm home, if not before that. Check out all my social media, check out Vault City Brewing, as I said, check their social media and stuff, and hopefully there's more reviews to come from these guys at some point soon. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon. This was the Sour IPA version 1 with Simcoe hops, coming in at 7.2% ABV from Vault City Brewing, Scotland's first specialist sour beer brewery through in Edinburgh. Slàinte, skål, make sure you check out this brewery. Cheers.